Dr. Lisa Morgan pressed her face against the cold metal window of Kepler Prime Research Station. The gas giant below swirled with colors that never failed to amaze her. Purple storms bigger than Earth danced across its surface. She had been studying the ancient alien ruins in the station's lower levels for 2 years now. Every day brought new discoveries about the race that once ruled the galaxy. "Lisa, you need to see this," called Danny Torres from the communications desk. His voice carried worry that made her stomach tighten. Danny never worried about anything. He was the kind of person who stayed calm during meteor showers and power failures. She walked across the research center where 20 other scientists worked at their stations. Commander Jake Phillips stood behind Danny, his weathered face grim. Jake had fought in 3 wars before taking this peaceful assignment. If he looked worried, something was very wrong. "What is it?" Lisa asked. Danny pointed at his screen. Long-range sensors picked up ships, a lot of them. "They're not responding to our calls." "Maybe they're just traders," suggested Dr. Karen Price, the team's geologist. "Ships pass through here sometimes." Jake shook his head. "Not this many, and not moving in military formation." He turned to Lisa. "How long until they reach us?" Danny's fingers flew over his keyboard. 6 hours, maybe less. Lisa felt her mouth go dry. Kepler Prime was a research station, not a military base. They had basic shields and 2 small defense turrets. Nothing that could stop a real attack. "Send out a general broadcast," Jake ordered. "Tell them we're a peaceful research station. Ask what they want." Danny tried for an hour. The approaching ships stayed silent, but their scanners picked up something else. Energy signatures unlike anything in their databases. The ships were alien, but not from any known species. "Commander," Danny said, his voice barely above a whisper, "I'm getting fragments of their internal communications. The computer is trying to translate. What do they say?" Danny's face went pale. Words like cleanse and purify and eliminate. "The contamination. Commander, I think they're talking about us." Jake grabbed the station's intercom microphone. "All personnel, this is Commander Phillips. We have unknown ships approaching. This is not a drill. Everyone to emergency stations. Scientists to the safe room. Security team to defensive positions." The station erupted into controlled chaos. Scientists ran through corridors carrying research data and personal items. The 6 security guards checked their weapons and took positions near the main doors. Lisa helped other researchers into the reinforced safe room, but her mind was on the alien ruins below. 2 years of work. The greatest archaeological discovery in human history. She couldn't just leave it behind. "Lisa, get in the safe room now." Jake commanded. "The research data," she protested. "We can't lose it all. Your life is more important than data." Before she could argue, the station shook violently. Emergency lights flashed red. The artificial gravity flickered for a moment. "Shields at 60%, reported Mike Chun from the engineering station. "They're using some kind of energy weapon I've never seen before." Jake opened communications. "Unknown vessels, this is Commander Phillips of Kepler Prime Research Station. We are civilians conducting peaceful research. Please respond." An alien voice answered, speaking perfect English with a cold, mechanical tone. "Humans detected. Contamination must be eliminated. Surrender is not acceptable. Purification will commence." The station shook again. This time sparks flew from control panels. The lights went out for 3 seconds before emergency power kicked in. "Shields down to 30%, Mike reported. "At this rate, we have maybe 10 minutes. Lisa ran to the communications center. "Danny, can you boost the quantum beacon's power?" "The experimental one?" "Yeah, but why?" "Send out a distress call, wide spectrum, maximum range." Jake grabbed her arm. "Lisa, that thing is untested. It could overload and kill us all." "We're dead anyway," she said, looking at the tactical display. More red dots appeared around their station. "At least this way, someone might know what happened to us." Another blast rocked the station. This time, the artificial gravity failed completely. Everyone floated in zero gravity as sparks showered from broken systems. "Shields failing," Mike called out. "Hull breach in Section 7. "Do it," Jake ordered. "Send the message," Lisa floated to the communications panel. Her hands shook as she activated the quantum beacon. The device hummed with dangerous energy. She grabbed the microphone and spoke words she hoped someone, somewhere would hear. "This is Dr. Lisa Morgan of Kepler Prime Research Station. We are under attack by hostile aliens, 20 souls aboard. Our shields are failing. They say they want to purify us, eliminate contamination. If anyone receives this message, please help us. We're going to try to hide in the lower levels, but I don't think we'll last long. Please. If anyone is listening, we need help." She pressed the transmission button. The quantum beacon flared with blinding light. Energy surged through the station's systems. Then everything went dark. Emergency power came back 30 seconds later. Danny checked his instruments. Message sent. "But Lisa, that beacon burned out. We can't send another one." The station shuddered as alien boarding pods attached to the hull. Cutting torches began working on the outer doors. "Everyone to the lower levels," Jake ordered. "Move now." They floated through dark corridors toward the ancient alien ruins. Lisa carried her research tablet, hoping against hope that someone had heard her message. Behind them, the sounds of alien warriors breaking through the station's defenses grew louder. In the ruins, they found a small chamber with thick walls. Jake sealed the door and activated the room's independent life support. 20 humans huddled together in the darkness, listening to alien voices echoing through the station above. "How long will our air last?" whispered Dr. Price. "Maybe 6 hours," Mike answered. Lisa stared at her tablet, showing pictures of the ancient alien civilization. They had been peaceful explorers, spreading knowledge across the galaxy. Now they were gone, and soon humans might join them. But somewhere in the darkness between stars, her message traveled faster than light, carried by quantum frequencies that pierced dimensions. It raced through space toward a small blue planet, where warriors slept, waiting for someone to call for help. Lisa didn't know it yet, but her desperate words would wake the most dangerous predators in the galaxy. The Hellworlders were coming. Admiral Kate Sullivan was drinking coffee in her office when the universe changed forever. The hot liquid burned her tongue as the emergency alarm screamed through Terra Defense Command. She had been reviewing supply reports for the outer colonies. Boring work that kept the fleet running. Her aide, Lieutenant Ryan Brooks, rushed through the door without knocking. His face was white with shock. "Admiral, you need to hear this right now," he said, holding the data pad with shaking hands. Kate set down her coffee cup. In 20 years of military service, she had never seen Ryan lose his composure. The young officer was known for staying calm during crisis drills and surprise inspections. "What is it?" A message came through the experimental quantum network. "It's from outside our solar system." Kate felt her heart skip a beat. For 50 years, Earth had stayed hidden from the galaxy. Their location was humanity's greatest secret. Only a few exploration ships had ventured beyond the outer planets. And they never made contact with alien civilizations. "Play it," she ordered. The message was broken and filled with static, but the woman's voice came through clearly. "This is Dr. Lisa Morgan of Kepler Prime Research Station. We are under attack by hostile aliens, 20 souls aboard. Our shields are failing. They say they want to purify us, eliminate contamination." Kate listened to the rest of the message in silence. When it ended, she played it again. Then a third time. Each time, the desperation in the woman's voice hit her like a physical blow. How did this reach us? she asked. Ryan pulled up a technical display. The quantum beacon they used somehow connected to our network. Our scientists say it should be impossible, but the signal is real. Kate stood and walked to her window. Earth spun slowly below, blue and peaceful. Most humans live their entire lives without thinking about the dangers that might exist between the stars. They trusted the military to keep them safe. Run a full analysis of the message, she ordered. I want to know everything about where it came from and who sent it. Already done, Admiral. Ryan handed her another datapad. Dr. Lisa Morgan is a real person. She's a Zen archaeologist who is studying alien ruins. The station exists too. Our long-range sensors confirm it. Kate read the report carefully. Lisa Morgan had graduated from Harvard with highest honors. She had written papers about ancient civilizations that most people thought were fiction. She was brilliant, careful, and not the type to send false messages. What about these aliens who attacked them? We found references in our databases. Several species have reported attacks by something called the Vorthek Dominion. They appear without warning, destroy everything, then move to the next target. Kate felt cold despite the warm office. How many people have they killed? Entire planets, Admiral. Billions of beings. They don't take prisoners or negotiate. They just kill everything that isn't them. She walked back to her desk and pressed the intercom button. Get me President Carter on secure line, priority 1. While she waited for the connection, Kate thought about the woman in the message. Dr. Lisa Morgan was probably dead by now. The attack had happened 3 days ago. But her message had traveled across impossible distances to reach Earth. President Helen Carter appeared on the video screen. She looked tired, which wasn't unusual. Running a planet was exhausting work. Kate, what's the emergency? We received a distress call from outside the solar system. Humans under attack by hostile aliens. The president's expression changed instantly. Show me. Kate played the message. Carter listened without interruption, her face growing more serious with each word. My God, Carter whispered when it ended. How many ships do we have ready for deployment? The Third Fleet is at full strength. 37 ships including my flagship. That's not enough to fight an entire alien empire. Kate leaned forward. Ma'am, with respect, we don't know how big their empire is. What we know is that humans are dying and they asked for help. Kate, if we reveal ourselves to the galaxy, everything changes. Earth won't be safe anymore. Earth won't be safe anyway. If these Vorthek keep expanding, eventually they'll find us. Carter was quiet for a long moment. Kate could see her weighing the options. Stay hidden and hope for the best, or reveal humanity's existence by responding to a cry for help. What do you recommend, Admiral? We go. We find these aliens who think they can murder innocent people. We show them what happens when you attack humans. The Joint Chiefs will fight this decision. Then don't tell them until after we launch. Carter almost smiled at that. You want me to start an interstellar war without congressional approval? I want you to save human lives. We can argue about politics later. The president looked at Kate for a long time. They had known each other for 15 years. Carter trusted Kate's judgment more than any other military officer. How long to prepare the fleet? 48 hours if we push hard. Do it. But Kate, if this goes wrong, we're both going to be remembered as the people who doomed Earth. If this goes right, we'll be remembered as the people who showed the galaxy that humans protect their own. After Carter signed off, Kate called her fleet commanders. Captain Amy Foster of the destroyer USS Relentless was first to respond. Admiral, what's the situation? Amy, how would you feel about showing some aliens why you don't mess with humans? Foster's grin was visible even through the video link. When do we leave? Within hours, every ship in the Third Fleet was preparing for departure. Supply ships rushed between vessels, loading weapons and provisions. Marines checked their equipment and said, Goodbye to families on leave. News of the mission spread through Earth's colonies despite official secrecy. Volunteers flooded recruitment centers. Young people who had never seen combat begged for a chance to help rescue fellow humans. Kate stood on the bridge of her flagship, the USS Terra's Wrath, watching the final preparations. The ship was humanity's most powerful weapon, armed with experimental plasma cannons and railguns that could crack asteroids. "Admiral," her communications officer reported, "all ships ready for departure." Kate looked at the tactical display showing her fleet, 37 ships carrying humanity's finest warriors. It wasn't much compared to the alien empire they were about to face, but it would have to be enough. "Set course for the Kepler system," she ordered. "Maximum speed." As the fleet jumped into hyperspace, Kate thought about Dr. Lisa Morgan's desperate message. The woman had asked for help, probably, never expecting anyone to hear her. But humans had heard, and now they were coming. The galaxy was about to discover that Earth's children didn't abandon each other, no matter how far they had to travel or how dangerous the enemy might be. War Master Zektar stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching his warriors finish their work. The human research station was nothing but twisted metal and broken dreams. 20 humans had died screaming, their weak bodies no match for Vorthok weapons. It had been a good day. His second-in-command, Sub-Commander Nex High, approached with a report. "War Master, the system is secured. No other ships detected. The humans sent no distress calls." Zektar nodded with satisfaction. The Vorthok had been cleansing the galaxy for 300 years. Every species they met was weak, corrupt, unworthy of existence. Humans appeared to be no different. "Begin construction of the forward base," he ordered. "This system will serve as our staging ground for the next phase of purification." The Vorthok fleet spread through the Kepler system like a disease. 80 warships, each one capable of burning a city to ash. They had destroyed 17 civilizations. In the past decade, the galaxy cowered before their might. Zektar was reviewing expansion plans when his sensor operator made a sound of confusion. "War Master, detecting spatial distortions at the system edge." "Asteroid field? No, sir. The distortions are too regular, too organized." Zektar walked to the sensor station. The readings made no sense. Space itself was twisting, bending, as if something massive was trying to break through from another dimension. "All ships to battle stations," he commanded. "Prepare for possible contact." The distortions grew stronger. Reality warped and twisted like water in a storm. Then, in a flash of light that temporarily blinded their sensors, 37 ships appeared in perfect formation. Zektar had never seen vessels like these. They were sleek predators, their hulls dark as space itself. Battle scars covered their armor, telling stories of countless fights. These were not the ships of merchants or explorers. These were warships built by a species that understood violence. "Identification signals?" he asked. "Unknown design, War Master, but they're scanning us with military-grade sensors." A communication request appeared on the main screen. Zektar accepted it, curious about what new species had wandered into his trap. A human female appeared on screen. She wore a uniform that spoke of discipline and authority. Her eyes were cold as winter stars. "This is Admiral Kate Sullivan of the Terran Defense Force," she said. "You have attacked and murdered innocent civilians. Surrender immediately or face the consequences," Zektar laughed. The sound echoed through his bridge like breaking glass. "Another inferior species seeks to challenge the Vorthok? You are 37 ships against our 80. Your mathematics are poor." "Our mathematics are fine," Sullivan replied. "We came here to rescue survivors and punish murderers. You've just identified yourself as the latter." "There are no survivors," Zektar said with cruel pleasure. "The humans died as all contamination must die." Screaming and afraid, Something changed in the human admiral's expression. Her cold eyes became arctic. When she spoke again, her voice carried the promise of death. "All ships," she broadcast on an open channel. "You heard him. No survivors, no mercy. Show them what happens when you murder humans." The human fleet moved with fluid precision. Zektar had seen many species fight, but never like this. The humans didn't charge blindly or fire randomly. They moved like pack hunters, each ship supporting the others in a deadly dance. "Open fire," Zektar commanded. "Destroy them all." The battle began with a storm of energy weapons. Vorthek ships fired their plasma cannons, weapons that had melted the hulls of 1,000 enemy vessels. The humans responded with weapons that defied understanding. Commander Tony Martinez aboard the heavy cruiser USS Vengeance unleashed railguns that fired metal slugs at impossible speeds. The projectiles punched through Vorthak shields like they were made of paper. Captain Amy Foster's destroyer squadron performed what humans called the Wolf Pack maneuver. Her ships appeared from nowhere, struck with devastating precision, then vanished into sensor shadows before the enemy could respond. "Impossible," Nexhai whispered. "Their ships are too fast, too maneuverable." Zektar watched in growing horror as his fleet began to fall apart. The humans fought with a fury he had never witnessed. Even when their ships were damaged, they kept fighting. Even when outnumbered, they pressed their attacks. The USS Relentless, her engines smoking, and her hull torn open, rammed a Vorthek heavy cruiser. Both ships exploded in a ball of fire, but the human captain's last words carried across the communication channels. "For the 20 souls of Kepler Prime." Admiral Sullivan's flagship, the USS Terra's Wrath, was a nightmare made real. Her experimental weapon systems fired beams of pure energy that could crack moons. Her railguns launched projectiles that struck with the force of asteroids. "War Master," his sensor operator called out in panic. "We've lost 40 ships. The humans are cutting through our formations." Zektar couldn't believe it. The Vorthek were the supreme warriors of the galaxy. They had never lost a battle, never retreated, never shown fear. But these humans fought like demons from the void itself. "How are they doing this?" he demanded. "Their tactics are unlike anything in our databases," Nexhai reported. "They coordinate perfectly. Each ship knows exactly where the others will be. It's like they share one mind." A human fighter squadron screamed past the bridge, their weapons tearing chunks from the flagship's armor. Zektar saw the pilot's face for a moment through the cockpit window. The human was smiling. "All ships retreat," he ordered. "Fall back to the outer system." But the humans didn't let them go. They pursued like wolves chasing wounded prey. Every time a Vorthek ship tried to escape, human vessels appeared to block their path. Captain Lisa Carter's fighter wings executed precision strikes that disabled Vorthak engines. Commander Beth Williams led boarding parties that captured enemy ships before they could self-destruct. The battle raged for 4 hours. When it ended, the Vorthek fleet was broken. Only 12 ships remained, and they were running for their lives. Zektar flagship was dying around him. His bridge crew was dead or wounded. His mighty fleet was scattered wreckage floating in space. "Open a channel to the human admiral," he gasped through blood-filled lungs. Sullivan's face appeared on screen again. She looked tired but satisfied. "Ready to surrender?" she asked. "What are you?" Zektar whispered. "What manner of demons spawned your kind?" "We're humans," Sullivan replied simply. "We're from Earth, and we protect our own." "The Supermarch will hear of this," Zektar said. "He will come with 1,000 ships, 10,000. You cannot fight the entire Dominion." Sullivan smiled, and the expression was terrifying in its confidence. "Let him come," she said. "We'll be waiting." Zektar's ship exploded moments later. taking with it the last organized resistance in the Kepler system. The human fleet regrouped, their ships damaged but victorious. Admiral Sullivan looked at the wreckage around them. Somewhere in that debris were the remains of Dr. Lisa Morgan and her research team. Their distress call had been answered, but too late to save them. "All ships," she broadcast. "Secure the system, begin search and rescue operations. And send a message to Earth. Tell them the Vorthic Dominion just learned why you don't mess with humans." The galaxy would never be the same. The species that had terrorized civilizations for centuries had been defeated by beings they considered inferior. Word would spread quickly through the stars. The Hellworlders had arrived, and they were everything the legends claimed. News of the Kepler system battle spread across the galaxy like wildfire. In the spaceports of distant worlds, alien traders whispered about the mysterious humans who had destroyed an entire Vorthak fleet on planets that had cowered in fear. For decades, hope began to bloom. Admiral Kate Sullivan stood in the command center of her flagship, studying intelligence reports from captured Vorthik ships. The data painted a horrifying picture of systematic genocide. The Dominion had destroyed 43 civilizations in the past 50 years. Billions of innocent beings had died. "Admiral," Commander Tony Martinez reported, "we're receiving communications from all over the galaxy. Species we've never heard of are asking for help." Kate looked at the star map displaying dozens of red markers. Each one represented a world under Vorthik attack or occupation. The scope of the problem was staggering. "What's our fleet status?" 31 ships operational. Earth is sending reinforcements, but they won't arrive for 2 weeks. Kate made her decision. "We can't wait. People are dying right now." She pointed to the nearest red marker. "Centauri Beta. Intelligence says the Vorthik are using the population as slave labor. We hit them first." Colonel Beth Williams led the ground assault on Centauri Beta. Her Marines landed under heavy fire, their dropships weaving through clouds of anti-aircraft fire. The Vorthak had turned the peaceful farming world into a prison camp. Beth's boots hit alien soil running. Around her, 200 Marines spread out in perfect formation. They had trained for this moment their entire careers. Urban combat against a fanatical enemy who showed no mercy. "First platoon, secure the landing zone," she commanded. "Second platoon, advance on the slave compounds. Third platoon, suppress those artillery positions." The Zelani were a peaceful species that looked like tall, graceful birds. The Vorthik had enslaved them 3 months ago, forcing them to mine rare metals for the Dominion war machine. Thousands of Zelani worked in terrible conditions, guarded by brutal overseers. Beth's Marines moved through the compound like ghosts. They had studied the layout for hours, memorizing every building and guard post. When they struck, it was with surgical precision. "Contact front," Sergeant Mike Davis called out. "Vorthik patrol, 12 strong." The aliens opened fire with plasma weapons, but the Marines were ready. They used the buildings for cover, moving in coordinated teams that confused and overwhelmed their enemies. Private Jenny Lopez threw herself in front of a group of Zelani prisoners when a Vorthak warrior aimed his weapon at them. The plasma bolt, meant for innocent civilians, struck her armor instead. She survived, but the gesture was not lost on the grateful aliens. "The humans fight not just for victory," one Zelani elder would later say, "but for the protection of those who cannot protect themselves." The liberation of Centauri Beta took 6 hours. When it was over, 8,000 Zelani were free, and the Vorthak garrison was destroyed. But the victory came at a cost. 12 Marines died in the fighting, including Corporal Andy Stone, who held a bridge against overwhelming odds to allow civilians to escape. Captain Joe Adams faced an even greater challenge at the Vorthik shipyards. Of Kepler's Edge, his task force of 12 ships approached a fortress that bristled with defensive weapons. Over 100 Vorthak vessels protected the facility that built their warships. "This is going to be rough," Adams told his crew over the intercom. "They've got us outnumbered 8-1. But remember why we're here. Every ship built in those yards means more dead civilians." The battle for Kepler's Edge lasted 3 days. Human ships fought in rotating shifts, maintaining constant pressure on the defenders. When the USS Defiance engines failed, Captain Sarah Lee ordered her crew to use the ship's momentum to ram a Vorthak cruiser. Both vessels exploded, but the sacrifice allowed Adams to break through the defensive line. "Sir," his weapons officer reported, "we're down to 30% ammunition." "Then we better make every shot count," Adams replied. The human fleet adapted to each new challenge. When the Vorthak tried to use asteroid fields for cover, the humans followed them in. When the enemy attempted to flee, human fighters pursued them into the void. Nothing was allowed to escape. Major Lisa Park led the most dangerous mission of all. Her target was Nexus Prime, the Vorthak command world where their military leaders coordinated the genocide. Intelligence reports said the planet was defended by 2 million soldiers and orbital defense platforms that could shatter moons. Lisa's 501st Marine Regiment landed at night during a thunderstorm. They had one advantage the Vorthak didn't expect. Humans had evolved on a death world. Bad weather didn't slow them down. It made them harder to detect. "Remember," Lisa told her troops, "there are civilian aliens on this planet. Refugees from worlds the Vorthak destroyed. We protect them at all costs." The urban fighting on Nexus Prime was brutal. Vorthak soldiers used civilian buildings as fortresses, forcing the Marines to fight room by room, floor by floor. But the humans had something their enemies lacked. They cared about innocent lives more than military objectives. When Vorthak forces tried to use alien refugees as human shields, the Marines risked their own lives to save the innocents. Sergeant Tom Rivera died shielding a group of children from a grenade blast. Lieutenant Amy Davis led a squad through a minefield to rescue trapped civilians. "The humans are insane," one captured Vorthak officer told his interrogators. "They value alien lives more than their own victory." The fighting raged for a week. Block by block, building by building, the Marines pushed forward. They adapted to every trap, overcame every obstacle, and saved every civilian they could find. Major Park's final assault on the command bunker became legendary. Her remaining forces, barely 100 Marines, faced a fortified position defended by 1,000 Vorthak warriors. The odds were impossible, but the humans had already done the impossible so many times it was becoming routine. "This is for every innocent being you murdered," Park said into her radio as her forces charged the final line. The command bunker fell at dawn on the 7th day. The Vorthak military leadership on Nexus Prime was destroyed or captured. Their ability to coordinate attacks across the galaxy was crippled. But the real victory was in the eyes of the rescued civilians. Aliens from a dozen different species looked at the human Marines with something that hadn't existed in the galaxy for decades: hope. "Why did you come?" asked a young alien child, her species unknown to human databases. Major Park knelt down to the child's level. "Because someone asked for help," she said simply. And humans never ignore a call for help. News of the human victories spread faster than their ships could travel. Species that had hidden in fear for generations began to emerge from their hiding places. Trade routes that had been closed for years reopened under human protection. The galactic balance of power was shifting. The Vorthak dominion, which had seemed unstoppable, was suddenly losing ground everywhere. Their enemies were no longer afraid. They had seen that the mighty Vorthak could be defeated by beings who refused to accept that evil could not be overcome. Admiral Sullivan received reports from across the galaxy. Human ships were being welcomed as liberators. Alien species were requesting protection. The galaxy was learning that Earth's children were not conquerors but protectors. But in the dark heart of the Vorthak Empire, Supremarch Velkoth was gathering his forces for one final desperate assault. He would stake everything on a single battle that would determine the fate of the galaxy. The stage was set for a confrontation that would echo through history. The humans had won every battle so far, but their greatest test was still to come. Supremarch Velkoth stood in the war room of his command ship, staring at a galaxy map that showed his empire crumbling. Red markers indicated lost worlds. Yellow markers showed planets under attack. The humans were everywhere, striking like ghosts and vanishing before reinforcements could arrive. "How many ships do we have left?" he asked his remaining generals. 312, my lord," General Kexmuth replied. "But morale is low. The warriors speak of humans who cannot be killed, who fight like demons from the void." Velkoth, forearms clenched into fists. The Vorthak Dominion had ruled through fear for centuries. Now his own soldiers were afraid. Of humans, of beings they had dismissed as weak contamination only months ago. "Gather every ship," he commanded. "Every. Warrior, we end this now. If we destroy their fleet and their leaders, the resistance will collapse." "My lord, perhaps we should consider negotiation." Velkoth's arm moved faster than thought. General Kexmuth collapsed with a broken neck. The other officers stepped back in terror. "The Vorthak do not negotiate with contamination," Velkoth snarled. "We are the chosen race. We will cleanse the galaxy or die in the attempt." Admiral Kate Sullivan received the intelligence report while her fleet regrouped at the Nexus system. Every available Vorthak ship was moving toward their position. Over 300 vessels, including the Supremarch's massive flagship. "They're coming for a final battle," Commander Tony Martinez observed. "Everything they have left." Kate looked at her tactical display. Her fleet had grown to 45 ships as Earth sent reinforcements, but they were still outnumbered almost 7-1. The upcoming battle would decide everything. "Send a message to all ships," she ordered. "Tell the crews we didn't come this far to back down now. The galaxy is watching. Today we show everyone that evil can be defeated." Captain Sandra Lee received the message aboard her heavy cruiser USS Liberty. Her ship had been in every major battle of the campaign. Her crew was exhausted, but their spirits remained high. They had saved thousands of lives and liberated dozens of worlds. "Captain," her first officer reported, "sensors detect the Vorthak fleet approaching. They'll be here in 6 hours." Sandra looked at her bridge crew. Young faces that had aged years. In months of warfare. They had seen things that would haunt them forever. But they had also seen hope return to a galaxy that had forgotten what hope looked like. "All hands, this is the captain," she announced over the ship's intercom. "The enemy is coming with everything they have. This is our moment. This is why we're here. For every innocent life they've taken. For every world they've burned. For every child who cries in fear of their return. Today we end their reign of terror." The Vorthak fleet arrived like a plague of locusts. Hundreds of ships filled with warriors who had never known defeat until they met humans. Supremarch Velkoth's flagship led the charge. A massive dreadnought armed with weapons that could crack planets. Admiral Sullivan watched them approach with calm determination. Her fleet formed a defensive line, each ship precisely positioned to support the others. The humans had learned much about space combat in their short time among the stars. "All ships," she broadcast, "remember your training. Protect each other. Fight smart. And show these aliens what happens when you threaten innocent people." The battle began with a storm of energy weapons that lit up space like a new star. Vorthak ships fired everything they had, desperate to overwhelm the human defenses. But the humans had something their enemies lacked. They fought for more than conquest or glory. They fought for the right of peaceful beings to exist without fear. Captain Sandra Lee's ship took the brunt of the initial assault. Her shields failed within minutes, but she refused to retreat. "All power to weapons," she ordered. "If we're going down, we're taking them with us." The USS Liberty's final stand became legend. Surrounded by enemy ships, her hull breaking apart, Sandra and her crew fought until their last breath. Her dying words carried across the communication channels. "Tell Earth we held the line." Her sacrifice inspired the entire human fleet. Ships that should have retreated pressed forward. Crews that should have surrendered kept fighting. The humans proved once again that they would rather die than abandon their principles. Admiral Sullivan's flagship, the USS Terra's Wrath, found itself facing Supermarch Velkoth's dreadnought in single combat. The two massive vessels circled each other like ancient gladiators, trading devastating blows that would have destroyed smaller ships. "Your species dies today, human," Velkoth taunted over the communication channel. "The Vorthik are eternal. You are nothing but contamination to be cleansed." "We're humans," Sullivan replied calmly. "We're the species that answers distress calls. We're the ones who protect the innocent. And today, we're the ones who end your empire." The duel between the two flagships raged for an hour. Both ships absorbed punishment that should have been impossible to survive. But human engineering, born from centuries of warfare on a death world, proved superior to Vorthik technology. The Terra's Wrath's experimental plasma cannons finally broke through the enemy ship's defenses. Velkoth's flagship cracked like an egg, spilling atmosphere and debris into space. The Supermarch's final transmission was a scream of rage and disbelief. With their leader dead and their fleet shattered, the remaining Vorthik ships fled in all directions. The dominion that had terrorized the galaxy for centuries was broken. Forever, Admiral Sullivan sat in her command chair, looking at the wreckage around them. 20 human ships had been destroyed in the battle. Thousands of brave men and women would never see Earth again. But their sacrifice had freed the galaxy from a nightmare that had seemed endless. "Admiral," her communications officer reported, "we're receiving a transmission from Dr. Lisa Morgan." Sullivan's heart stopped. "That's impossible. She died in the initial attack." "No, ma'am, she's alive. Badly injured, but alive. She and 3 other researchers survived in the ruins of Kepler Prime. They've been hiding for weeks." The woman whose desperate message had started everything appeared on screen. Lisa Morgan looked thin and exhausted, but her eyes shone with hope. "Admiral Sullivan," she said, "I don't know how to thank you. When I sent that message, I never dreamed anyone would hear it, much less come to help." "Dr. Morgan," Sullivan replied, "you gave us the chance to do what humans do best. Protect the innocent and fight for what's right." 3 days later, Admiral Sullivan stood before the Galactic Council, representing humanity for the first time. Representatives from dozens of species looked at her with a mixture of awe and gratitude. "The Council formally invites humanity to join our alliance," the chairman announced. "Your species has proven itself to be protectors of peace and freedom." Sullivan accepted the invitation on behalf of all humanity. "We're honored to join you. But understand this. Wherever innocent beings call for help, wherever evil threatens the peaceful, you'll find humans willing to fight. That's not a threat or a boast. It's simply who we are." As she looked out at the assembled delegates, Sullivan thought about Dr. Lisa Morgan's message. A desperate cry for help from a woman who thought she was going to die alone and forgotten. That message had changed everything. The galaxy now knew that Earth's children were not myths or legends. They were real, and they were here to stay. The age of unchallenged tyranny was over. The Hellworlders had arrived, and they brought with them something the galaxy had almost lost: hope.